welcome back to my channel. And if you've been following along throughout the month of March, you know that I am participating in Realmathon. This is a readathon created by Covers with Cassidy, who I'll have linked down below, as well as a link to the Google Drive and the video and all the bits and pieces to do with Realmathon. But it is a readathon that runs throughout the month of March. It is a team-based readathon that is structured similar to the D&D game or a video game, which means that you read books to either gain XP or sabotage other teams' XP. I am in Team Paladins and my team leads are Mel Lenore Reads and Daijah's book World. As part of the readathon, we have the Gala of Peace. It is a 48-hour weekend where not only do we get the XP either sabotaged or gained for the prompts that we read to, but we also gain an extra 10 XP. So that is the perfect time to buckle down and see how many books I can read. So you're going to be coming along with this journey with me, and I'm going to be using this pretty little spinner wheel. I actually have it up on the screen over here, so we are in live time now. So this spinner wheel actually contains all 30 prompts, both negative and positive. We are going to roll it. We are then going to select our first prompt, which will tell us whether we're going to be reading to build XP for the paladins or if we're going to be reading to take some XP away. I can be competitive, but I don't really like to take XP away from people, and now that I've said that, you and I both know I am most likely going to end up with a negative prompt. But let's just jump in, find out what my first prompt is, and then I'll tell you what I'll be starting with. Ooh, okay. Our first prompt is successfully parry an attack. Okay, let me get some details. I'll then select a book and I'll be right back. So we got successfully parry an attack, and that prompt is a positive XP. It is a +1 and it stands for a fast-paced book. So it's my interpretation of what is a quick-moving read. For that, I have pulled out my Kobo and I'm going to be reading Alpha Magic. This is the first book in the Halloween Witches series, and it is by Amelia Shaw, who I have in fact read from before. I'm going to figure out what other prompts I can stack once I've finished reading it, but so far I've definitely got 2. So this is a Why Choose Shifter romance. It is only about 150 pages, and the tagline reads, "It's just one little love spell. Who knew it would return so many guys and problems?" I'm sorry, but hook, line, and sinker, I am in for this one. Not only do I love a shifter romance, I'm also a big fan of Why Choose. So let's get started with my first read. It is going to be a fun 48 hours. Morning. So I've just had a sleep
And we've got approximately 39 hours left, maybe just under. I'll have like a running timer up somewhere. I don't know. But maybe down here or down here. Anyway. So I am about 38% into Alpha Magic. I'm a little unsure because on Goodreads it said that there was 150 pages. But on my Kobo, it is just over 300 pages, and I'm not sure if that is because of the Kobo layout, or if the book is longer than Goodreads suggests. Either way, we are going to just be continuing with it. I'm enjoying it so far. We have met our main female character. Her name's Ruby. We've also met the 3 shifter mates who are going to be the main part of this story. And like I said, this is the first book in a series. And from the impression I've already picked up, there will probably be 2 other books in this series that follow Ruby's 2 best friends, Tiffany and Bella. I have reached my first non-hurdle of this journey, and that's that I plugged my Kobo in last night, but I'm not sure if it's because I didn't use my official charger. I tried to plug it into a different charging point, but it didn't charge. So I'm going to have to charge this today and potentially continue this book currently on my phone. I do have a heap of other tasks to get done today, so I am planning for my next read to be an audiobook. I'm just unsure at this point if I'm going to get this current read finished before I have to roll for my next one to get my other tasks done, or if we're going to continue as we are. But let's just hop to it.
So I have just finished my first read for the Gala of Peace, and that was Alpha Magic by Amelia Shaw. I will put over here a little spill of what prompts this covers, but overall I gave this book a 4-star rating. It was a very quick, easy read, and I do enjoy Amelia Shaw's writing style. This was a Why Choose, focusing on a main female character, a witch named Ruby, and 3 shifters named Jackson, Billy, and Darren. This is the first book in a trilogy, and I'm imagining the next 2 books, based on Ruby's friends, Bella and Tiffany, will follow a very similar Why Choose theme. We have definitely learnt that there are some family secrets that need to be addressed, and I'm hoping that we're going to get more details about this going into the next 2 books. I enjoyed the relationship dynamic between all 4 characters. However, being a shifter romance, specifically focusing on fated mates, it did have a strong insta-love feel. But I'm willing to accept that with a shifter fated mates romance. It's not something I particularly enjoy in contemporary romance, but paranormal romance, it seems to lend well to that trope. I don't want to give too much away, but essentially Ruby and her 2 friends, Tiffany and Bella, cast a spell that calls their fated mates to them. Ruby seems to be the first one to meet her fated mates, and the story goes from there. I definitely will be continuing with this series, but I am very excited to continue with our readathon today and pick a new prompt and a new book. Like I might have mentioned before, this new one I'm planning to do a audiobook because I have some chores to do around the house, and doing an audiobook will make it a lot easier and a better way to double up on time. But once again, we're going to pull up my spinner wheel. I have it over here on the screen, so we're going to be watching this together. Just to note, I did remove the original prompt, so we're not going to get double up of prompts. After we pull one, I am removing it from the spinner. Okay, let's go for another spin. What are we going to get this time? Oh, okay. Is it going to be make an ally? All right. Let me have a look at whether this is a negative or a positive prompt, and I'll select a book and be right back. So our next prompt is Make an Ally, which refers to a book by an author from a marginalized group who is writing from their lived experience. For this one, I have decided Tara June Winch's debut novel, Swallow the Air. Winch is an Australian Wiradjuri author, and this book is described as a semi-autobiography. According to the blurb, we follow main female character May after their mother has suddenly died. Her and her brother are taken in by Auntie. However, their loss leaves them both searching for their place within a world that doesn't seem to want them. While Billy takes his own destructive path, May sets off to find her father and her Aboriginal identity. Her journey leads her from the eastern coast of Australia to the far north. But it is the people she meets, not the destination, that teaches her what it is to belong. I am going to be listening to this one via audiobook. I have a few Tara June Winch books on my TBR, but I don't think I've actually read from them yet. This will be the first book I've read by this author. So let's jump in. And just like that, I've finished Swallow the Air by Tara June Winch. I would say that this one was definitely literary fiction. I did give it 4 stars and it was beautifully written. I did find it a little hard to fully understand where the chapters fit into the overall story, because I think some of them had happened before other ones, so it wasn't in chronological order. But like I said, it was beautifully written, and even the really dark elements of the story had a sense of beauty and wonder to them. Goodreads refers to it as poetic and visceral style, and I would definitely agree with that comment. It is very poetic and more shows you what is happening than telling you what is happening. It is an Indigenous Australian fiction that is heavily based on true experiences. The ending was a beautiful mix of devastating reality and pure hope that definitely left me wanting to read more by Tara June Winch, and meant that I couldn't do anything but give this book at least a 4-star, even though literary fiction is probably not one of my go-to genres. I really love the fact that because I'm utilizing the spinner wheel, which is what I'm using to select a read, I'm actually picking up things that maybe I wouldn't pick up as a go-to read. And that is my favorite thing about doing game style selections. So we have about 32 hours to go. So let's jump in to my next spin. So far, I have had 2 positive prompts. Let's see if I'm going to get a negative prompt. I'm definitely preferring the positive prompts though. It's Magic Missile. I have a feeling that might be a negative prompt, but I'll be back in a minute and let you know the full details of what I'm going to be reading. So Magic Missile is when you use a D6 dice, you roll it, and the number that is on the dice is the number of words your book must have. So I'm going to insert now me rolling this little D6 here, and you can see how many words I get. Great, so we got 6 words, which is not easy because it needs to be exactly 6 words. You can't have 7 or 5, it has to be 6 words. So I am planning to continue listening via audiobook this afternoon while I get some more jobs done. So I had a look through Libby to see if I could find any audiobooks that were available now and that had 6 words, but were also a reasonable length for me to listen to, so under 5 hours. And because of that, I have actually decided to read The Empress of Salt and Fortune. This is by Ni Vo. I hope I've said that correctly. And it follows a young royal from the far north who is sent south for a political marriage in an empire reminiscent of Imperial China. It says on Goodreads that it is a feminist high fantasy. It also fits within the LGBT genre and is a novella. So this is only going to be about 2 hours. Once again, we're going to be reading something that I maybe wouldn't have selected if I wasn't doing this readathon. I will note that this is not an author I have read from before, but I am excited to see how this goes. So let's jump into it. I am a sucker for a sappy ending, and that one definitely brought some tears to the eyes, and I had to try my best to fix my makeup. But I just finished reading The Empress of Salt and Fortune. This one is a novella by Ni Voy, and we hear the story through tidbits told by Rabbit, a elderly handmaiden who is speaking to a cleric named G. This is a heart-wrenching story of rebellion, of love, and of strength, and I would definitely recommend. This one is a 5-star for me, and endings like this one always leave me just a little bit weepy. But it is time for us to roll again and select our next prompt. I am so pleased how many books we are getting through. We have 29 hours left of the Gala of Peace. Let's select our next read. I do also have to do some editing tonight, some video editing, which is going to take in to some of my reading time. And I also need to film some additional videos, and I will take you along with that journey as much as possible. But let's pull over here so you can see my wheel of prompts again. So the prompt we just had was a sabotage prompt that would take points from the other teams. Let's see how we go with this one. Okay. Okay, get a buff. All right, I'll be back with a book for this. So just my luck, get a buff is to read a book in a different format than the one you just read. So obviously I have just finished an audiobook, so we either need to go with a physical book or a ebook. I have decided to go with an ebook. Specifically, we are going to be reading Like It's 1999 by Karen Gray. And this one is a short, nostalgic romance. And the blurb here says, "Love 'em and leave 'em, Alice Kim and hot Steve Lau are perfect for each other. It will only take them 10 years to figure that out." So from that, I'm picking up that this is a second chance romance. And by the sounds of it, it's definitely got some 90s nostalgia involved. Hopefully this will be a good little palate cleanser before I jump into something else. So let's continue with it. So we are currently sitting at the 24-hour mark. I am about 20% into Like It's 1999. So far, I'm enjoying the writing style and the two main characters. It is not going exactly how I had expected. The characters are slightly older than I originally thought they would be at the beginning of the story, but I am enjoying it. So I'm going to read a bit more of this one. I'll probably end up having a sleep, and then we will continue in the morning. I have officially finished Like It's 1999. This was a very quick, sweet love story. I liked the fact that it was split up over many different years, situations that occurred over many different years. It wasn't as much of a second chance as I was originally imagining, but it definitely had a second chance element to it. I enjoyed the main two characters, and though I would have liked to know maybe potentially more about what happened during the years in between, I think that the way the story was written, where you focused on certain moments years apart at pinnacle points in their relationship, I think that was well done, kept you entertained and wanting to know what happens next. I could have got this book done and dusted much earlier during the day, but I kind of dawdled around for the day, edited some videos, went and had coffee with a friend, and didn't get as much reading done as I was originally planning. So we only have 5 hours left of the Gala of Peace. Part of me thinks, am I pushing it, selecting another book? The answer is probably yes, but we're going to do it. We're going to select another book, another prompt, and see how we go. So you will see up on the screen again, I've got it over here, my spinner wheel, and this is going to be our last spin for the Gala of Peace. And what do we have? Okay, so we've got Take Down a Boss. I have a feeling this might be a dystopian book, but I will double check and I'll be back with my last read. For the last book of this vlog, the plan was going to be to read an audiobook, just so I can make sure I'm able to get it done in time regardless of what I need to complete. However, I couldn't really find a short enough dystopian audiobook through Libby that I wanted to read. So I had a quick look at my Kobo and what I already have on there, and I've decided to go with a prequel novella, which is After First Light by Scott Nicholson. So it says here, a massive solar storm wipes out the technological infrastructure, and as the few survivors struggle to adapt, they discover some among them have changed. So this is the prequel to After, which is a post-apocalyptic thriller series. I can be a bit hit and miss when it comes to post-apocalyptic style or dystopian style movies, books, TV series. I'm looking forward to jumping into this series through the prequel, the very short prequel. So we'll give this one a read and I'll be back to wrap up this vlog. I've just finished After First Light by Scott Nicholson. This is a prequel in the After series, and it is a very interesting, I don't mind dystopian or post-apocalyptic to a certain extent. I'm not a huge fan of zombie-like creatures or something similar to that, because essentially, nobody likes the idea of you getting sick in some way, shape, or form, and then essentially your whole brain dies, apart from just, the basics like eat, sleep, like just the very aggressive, eat brains kind of section of it. So where you're extremely violent, killing people, doing whatever zombies do. Nobody likes that idea of loss of self, loss of personality. So yeah, I'm not a super huge fan of the zombie concept. It can be quite frightening, I guess, for me when reading a book. And there is, I guess, something similar within this book. It is not fully explained as of yet of what's caused it, but that's also, I guess, a little bit scary because it's not really clear how that's been caused, or how the people who aren't yet like that, why aren't they like that if they've all been touched essentially by the same thing that caused it. So it is an interesting first look into the series. I'm interested to know the answers and what happens to our main character, Rachel. But at this point, I'm quite tentative on the series overall, because it depends how it reads to whether I will continue to read it. I did really enjoy the fact that this story is written in a way that we're introduced to a number, I guess, of main characters, and we get just snapshots of their life coming up to the first light of devastation, the D-Day, essentially, that causes this post-apocalyptic dystopian world. So this is like the before. So it's interesting that we're getting these snapshots of characters' lives. We're bouncing between characters, and I do enjoy what I'm going to refer to as the Hitchcock effect, where anything could happen to any of the characters. I'm wondering if that will continue into the rest of the series, or if that's something that's just been done specifically for this prequel. So yes, I am going to be continuing with this series, and I'm happy that I was actually able to give this one a go. As I've previously mentioned, that is my favorite thing about doing game style TBRs and reading challenges. You have to pick a book that matches a prompt. So therefore, even though you still have a choice in which book you pick, it does give you less flexibility to a certain extent, because you've actually got to meet the prompt. And I also find a lot with these kind of challenges that I tend to pick up things that I probably never would have picked up if I was just regularly mood reading. And that can be both, I guess, a good and a bad thing. It's really good because I sometimes pick up books that are more that 4 or 5 star rating that I probably would not have picked up in a different situation. But then also I can pick up books that maybe are not as good as I would have hoped. So more the 3 star rating, which are still decent books, but really it can be a bit harder to get through those books because you're only reading them because the prompt or the game or the challenge or whatever has pushed you down that path. But now we've come to the end of the Gala of Peace, which means we have hit our 48 hours, which I am very pleased over. Over this time, I have read 5 books. I would say that if I had better managed my second 24 hours, I could have got through more than that, as I did read 3.5 books for the first 24 hours, and then I only did another 1.5 books for the second 24 hours. I don't think that is because I wasn't necessarily enjoying the book. However, it probably wasn't one that I was super excited to read. And because I had to physically read it rather than listening to it by audiobook, that can be a bit of a harder task for me. It means I need to push myself more to get through those physical books. But overall, I'm very pleased with what I was able to achieve this weekend. I have very much enjoyed majority of the books I have read, but I absolutely love the fact that I did really break out of my comfort zone and read in genres that I potentially would not have picked up if it wasn't for this weekend. Did you join Realmathon for 2026? Let me know down in the comments. Let me know which team you were a part of, and did you participate in the Gala of Peace? If so, what books did you read over the weekend, or have you read any of the books that I have read? If you don't really have much to say, but you want to let me know that you have followed along, chuck a little dragon down in the comments for the paladins. But until next time, I'm Verity. This was my Readathon, Realmathon, Gala of Peace weekend vlog. And now to the outro.